sir. I hope you don't think that I was scared away by your protesters. I came and saw you last week. You weren't outside. Are you up in your office again? I can't see you. Why don't you come on outside and take a walk with us like you did the protesters the other week? We want to talk to you about the statue, sir. Walk with us. Walk with us. Walk with us. How come we can sit out here for weeks as peaceful protesters not destroying anything and picking stuff up, and you'll come out and walk with vagrants, people who don't even care about black lives? We care about black lives. We care about police and everybody, children. That's all we were talking about. We were talking about all lives. But you won't come out that door and have a civil conversation with a bunch of good Americans, hard-working Americans, and you just sit there and ignore us as if this was purposefully done to harm hard-working Americans and support your little hippie mob that don't believe in law like you, sir, that don't believe in the Constitution. We want to know what's going on. We know you don't care about the election now. Why don't you come on outside and walk with us? We'll just walk from this corner to this corner. You can bring your cronies out with you. Maybe bring some good police officers. We know you got some good men in there taking care of that house. They can come walk with us too, sir. Or are you too busy not doing anything at all? We see that you'll keep your ABC store open, but you won't let bars open. You'll let thousands and thousands of people march in front of your house, so we know you don't care about the disease that you still keeping the numbers to. Why won't you give the reporters the information they're requesting, sir? Why don't you come on outside, crack open that door, I'll put the bullhorn away and you can come talk to me like the American you're supposed to be, like the person that we elected you to be, sir. I hear that after they're done with the rest of the monuments, they're going to start taking Jesus out of churches. How do you feel about that, sir? I see that your interviews are getting smaller and smaller. You're taking the news media out. What is the purpose of this, sir? Why don't you come out and talk to me?
Does anybody want to say anything?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Just think about it.
Think on it.
I know you thought that I was scared away or wasn't ready to come back out, sir, but I told you you weren't going to see the end of me. You participated in the loss of life of my friend David Ahmoudi. And I will never forget that. I will not be scared away like some people, like you've intended to do with so many other good people who just wanting to fight for what was right. We just want what's right. We want the Constitution. And we want you out of that house. If you don't come out here, do a little interview with me so I can relay the message that you're trying to convey silently to the rest of the people. But I guess that's just too hard for you, sir. I'm glad that you don't have these good men and women that you had out here that we had to yell over the top of. But I see that wasn't the case when hippie mob was out here a week ago. You had to surround the building. You had guys in riot gear inside, but you came out and you talked to them. Why won't you talk to us, sir? Is it because you're scared we're going to ask you the real questions? Do we need to make paper airplanes and throw them over the fence so you get the message? Or will you open that door and come walk with us? Walk with us! Walk with us! Walk with us! That's all we had to do, right? Just crack open that door, come down and have a civil conversation with us, sir. That's all we're asking for.
Dana's ready to talk.
Good morning, Mr. Cooper. Lana again, resident of North Raleigh area, just inside 540. We're aware that your time in office is scattered with COVID patients, a whole lot of executive orders, and a secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services that isn't even from North Carolina. Nor is she a licensed physician. Her license expired, Governor Cooper, long ago. The only license she ever held. It wasn't in D.C., where much of her time has been spent. It wasn't in North Carolina, where you invited her to come. It was in Massachusetts, sir, where she did her residency straight out of Yale. And she served as an internist, not in Massachusetts, but in D.C., at the VA for Women's Health. Why does she have all the power right now? You realize that that very first executive order that you rolled out in March handed her all of the power. You stripped every elected representative in the House of Representatives in North Carolina. You stripped every elected senator in North Carolina of their power and handed it to her on a silver platter with a bow. Lord, we don't understand at all why she holds power over 10.48 million North Carolinian lives when she hasn't even ever lived here and doesn't even have interest in the lives of North Carolinians. Because if she did, she would have worked from the grassroots up and not from the top down. She would have learned how to work with the elected representatives from their districts from the bottom up. Asked what they wanted to do in their cities, in their counties. She would have asked what the directors of those assisted living facilities, of the most vulnerable patients, she would have asked them what they thought was best. Because they have lived there. I know you're from Nash County. I'm aware that you're from rural North Carolina, born and raised, grassroots. You had parents. I believe your mom was a teacher. Isn't that right? Imagine if they had asked from the grassroots up how to handle this in the schools, Governor Cooper. What if they had asked before just letting somebody from out of state make all of the decisions? You don't even have any power. Already you don't have power. You handed it to Secretary Cohen. And she has been making all of the decisions without revealing any data. And that is why you, sir, are being held accountable with her. And Secretary Hook. The media is even asking you questions. The media has even filed a lawsuit. The media now is trying to hold you accountable, not just our elected representatives who you keep vetoing every time they talk about grassroots and the businesses that are still closed and the businesses that are only opened at 50% capacity and all of the assisted congregate living facilities that are affected by the policies that the DHHS has implemented, isolating patients from their families. We have a friend who recently, her husband, was admitted to a hospital for surgery on a brain tumor. He has 2 elementary-age children. Did they get to see him? Do you even know that these things are occurring because of the power that you handed on a silver platter to Secretary Cohen? Did you know that a couple who had been married for over 50 years were separated? Go ahead, go on over and watch the video of the brave Dr. Perrin, who just last week addressed Secretary Cohen in a committee meeting, asking her, when will this urgently be handled, where such couples who have been separated from one another, over 50 years of marriage, and for over a month, couldn't even see one another. They finally get to see one another through a glass, and the husband is in tears for 30 minutes just because he can't touch his wife, hold her hand. Nothing about that is rational. Get your power back in your hands and place it at the grassroots up. We aren't a communist country. We're not a socialist country. We are a constitutional republic that trusts free citizens to be responsible, moral, and free, voluntarily taking care of one another because we can care about one another. Way better than a big government who just wants power and money. That's all. Feel free to come out and talk with us because we want to offer you a little bit of political courage.
Can I say a couple things first?
Good job, Lena. You did awesome.
So she happened to mention that you were from Nash County. I saw some disturbing paperwork from Ancestry.com that said your great-grandfather and your great-grandfather were 2 of the biggest slave owners in Nash County. I wonder how your hippie mob would feel if I walked down there with my bullhorn and let them know that the next time they're tearing apart Confederate things. You know, I actually kind of believe that the statues should be put into a museum before they're mutilated and our history is destroyed. I don't pride myself on Confederacy, sir. I pride myself that that which is forgotten is destined to repeat. And by you removing and allowing them to remove statues of our history and lynching them in the middle of the Capitol grounds, that you have fully restored the Democratic Party to its original grace. Who are you lynching next, sir? Are we going to see statues of Jesus in the street hanging by his neck from a rope? Is that your plan, sir?
You want to just hold the bullhorn, or you want me to?
Oh my gosh.
You gotta kind of hold it a little close.
Keep having
It's a little
issues.
louder than normal.
Apologies about that.
Governor Cooper, my name is Clayton Dillard. I'm a resident of Holly Springs. I'm very disappointed in what's happening in our state. And I think you are very much accountable and responsible.
Gosh, what
Our country was built by men and women
about that or camera things?
to understand the wisdom of law and order, of individual responsibility, personal accountability. We live in a republic where we elect representatives into office to carry out the wishes of the people. You act like a tyrant. Your policies are doing exactly what socialism and tyranny always does. They result in violence, anarchy, and chaos. Look around. Raleigh, North Carolina, boarded up, vandalized. Statues that represent our country's history, that have stood for over 100 years, are being toppled by criminals, and you support them. We don't want this for our country. We don't want this for the great state of North Carolina, sir. We will prevail. You need to work with our legislature. Stop consolidating power you do not have the right to wield.
Sir, again, we are not going to stop doing what we're doing. We are going to continue to be here until November. I will continue to bring people down here that you don't know, that you won't talk to, because you won't come outside and walk with us. We'll stay inside the fence. We'll put the bullhorn away, sir. We just want you to come outside and tell us why your best friends are Marxists and communists and terrorists, and not the people one building on the other side of this building. Why they're telling us that you won't work with them. You've taken away the weights and the balances, and now we just have weight, immense weight. So like our forefathers before us, we will do everything as peaceful as possible until that is no longer an option. We pray for you, sir, to do the right thing, and we will continue to pray for you and your family. I keep hearing about a ship that has sailed and everybody like you is trying to get on it. I will strongly urge you right now to get off of that boat.
Does anybody else want to say anything?
Jax is just reminding you, as I have many times for over 2 months now, it is never too late to change your mind. Let me say that again. It is absolutely never too late to change your mind. We still have freedom of religion in this country. My husband comes from a country where that doesn't exist because their religion is the Communist Party. That's who controls everything. In this country, Governor Cooper, it is still never too late to change your mind. There is always a way out. You might not be able to see 3 steps ahead of you or even the next step, but just pick up your foot and start the process. Pick up the phone and start the process. You have people who will stand with you while you work your way out of whatever mess you got yourself into. It is never, ever too big for our God to help. We'll stand with you, and we'll walk as you walk. But first you gotta stand up, come out here. You gotta stand up, pick up the phone. You gotta stand up, go over to the General Assembly building where there's a whole group of people that would be more than happy to work with you, not against you. Work with you and solve the mess that's been created. Just stand up. Never too late to change your mind.
Keep having camera problems. Apologies. It's a stand.
Sir, we know that your family sits in that building and we don't want to inconvenience them. We hope in their hearts of hearts that they're saying, Dad, why aren't you doing this? Roy, why aren't you doing this? How can you just let these people suffer? We would love to see what you have in mind about police reform. We would love to know why you call off your police every time the hippie mob shows up to destroy something. But we'll talk again next week, sir. I want you to think about this. If we just here to have a conversation with you, and would gladly put down the bullhorn to do that. God bless you, sir. God bless America.
Good job on the bullhorn.
Come join us next week, every week, till November. You know, the job doesn't stop and start in November during the voting. We have to do something now because it's this bullhorn and these people here that it got the state to reopen in the first place. And if we just show back up, come out here and tell them how you feel, I guarantee you'll watch the press conference have a whole new tune to it, just like it always has anytime we show up with a freedom horn. So come on out. Go ahead and stop it.
There you go.